books in this field had been published by the Greeks, but very few indeed by our countrymen. Fuficius, in fact, was the first to undertake to publish a book on this subject. Terentius Varro, also, in his work on the 9 Sciences, has one book on architecture, and Publius Septimius two. 15. But to this day nobody else seems to have bent his energies to his branch of literature, although there have been, even among our fellow citizens in old times, great architects who could also have written with elegance. For instance, in Athens the architects Antistates, Callaeschrus, Antimachides, and Pormus laid the foundations when Pisistratus began the temple of Olympian Jove, but after his death they abandoned the undertaking on account of political troubles. Hence it was that when, about 400 years later, King Antiochus promised to pay the expenses of that work, the huge cella, the surrounding columns in dipteral arrangement, and their architraves and other ornaments, adjusted according to the laws of symmetry, were nobly constructed with great skill and supreme knowledge by Cossutius, a citizen of Rome. Moreover, this work has a name for its grandeur, not only in general, but also among the select few. 16. There are, in fact, 4 places possessing temples embellished with workmanship in marble that causes them to be mentioned in a class by themselves with the highest renown. To their excellence and the wisdom of their conception they owe their place of esteem in the ceremonial worship of the gods. First, there is the temple of Diana at Ephesus, in the Ionic style, undertaken by Chersiphron of Gnosus and his son Metagenes, and said to have been finished later by Demetrius, who was himself a slave of Diana, and by Paeonius the Milesian. At Miletus, the temple of Apollo, also Ionic in its proportions, was the undertaking of the same Paeonius and the Ephesian Daphnis. At Eleusis, the cella of Ceres and Proserpine of vast size was completed to the roof by Ictinus in the Doric style, but without exterior columns and with plenty of rooms for the customary sacrifices. 17. Afterwards, however, when Demetrius of Phalerum was master of Athens, Philo set up columns in front before the temple and made it prostyle. Thus, by adding an entrance hall, he gave the initiates more room and imparted the greatest dignity to the building. Finally, in Athens, the temple of Olympian, with its dimensions on a generous scale and built in the Corinthian style and proportions, is said to have been constructed, as written above, by Cossutius, no commentary by whom has been found. But Cossutius is not the only man by whom we should like to have writings on our subject. Another is Gaius Mucius, who, having great knowledge on which to rely, completed the cella, columns, and entablature of the Marian temple of Honor and Valor in symmetrical proportions according to the accepted rules of the art. If this building had been of marble, so that besides the refinement of its art it possessed dignity coming from magnificence and a great outlay, it would be reckoned among the first and greatest of works. 18. Since it appears then that our architects in the old days, and a good many even in our own times, have been as great as those of the Greeks, and nevertheless only a few of them have published treatises, I resolved not to be silent, but to treat the different topics methodically in different books. Hence, since I have given an account of private houses in the 6th book, in this, which is the 7th in order, I shall treat of polished finishings and the methods of giving them both beauty and durability. End of Book 7, Introduction.